Hi you guys, it's Lisa. Thanks for joining me today. Today I'm going to work on a project that I'm making for my sister's birthday. Her birthday is on the 3rd of July and I wanted to make something special. So I dug out a bunch of Shawn stencils and I was thinking maybe using the Grateful on this one. She loves dragonflies and she really likes these papers that I have in my stash, so I knew I needed to incorporate some of that. This is a larger piece on MDF board and I think that she's really going to like it. So let's see what happens here. I'm going to use some gesso on the MDF board just to give it a base coat and seal the wood. This is a thinner gesso that I have, and I'm just kind of trying to use it up. I like a thicker gesso in my stash, and this one is just something I purchased to try out, and I'm not too thrilled with it, but I'm going to use it up nonetheless. I don't want to waste any of the product. So just giving a good coat to the back, and I'm going to give this a dry, and we're going to put down some collage papers in the background. Alright, everything's dry. I'm going to put down my collage papers with my matte medium, and I'm giving it a good coat to adhere those collage papers. And these papers are kind of near and dear to me. I received them from a lady that I was shopping at her rummage sale, and these are all handwritten little stories by her, so I use them when I'm making something that's real special. Here there was something printed on the collage paper there, and I believe it said something about carrying my loved one, and I thought that was real appropriate for this because this piece is going to be for my sister. She is my older sister, and she took real good care of me when I was little and growing up, so I've always been very thankful to have her in my life. So I just wanted this piece to be special for her. I'm going to go ahead and place them down in no certain pattern. I'm just making sure that I have some nice texture that will show through to the foreground from the background. I liked this piece of pattern paper that I had in my stash. My sister and I both really love dragonflies, and I thought that dragonfly piece was really neat, and that kind of gave me the direction for this piece. I thought I would make the background with dragonflies and have it be real bright and cheery and great summer colors, something that she could put up at her house in the summer and maybe take it down in the winter and put something else up perhaps. But we'll see what happens. She can do what she wants with it. I liked how the piece turned out in the end. It did take me quite a while because I was being very, very particular to make sure that it was worthy of a birthday present for my special sister. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I would love to hear from you, and let me know what you think about this birthday gift for her. Her birthday, like I said, is going to be on Friday, and we're going to have her come over. She lives about 40 minutes from me, and we're going to have her come over, and we're just going to hang out, do a little shopping, maybe at Goodwill. We like to do that, see if we can find any treasures, and then we're going to go out for some Friday night fish and probably have a couple of cocktails on the deck afterwards and just relax and have a good time together. Here I'm using some of that Gesso, the thinner stuff that I'm trying to use up, and I'm using my brayer and I'm going over those background papers, collage papers, and just putting a little bit of that Gesso down so that it pushes the paper to the background, and it also gives some texture to the piece with the ridges from the Gesso as it dries. I didn't want to go too much over those dragonflies because I did want them to pop through on the piece. I use this technique a lot. It's one of my favorites, and I really like the added dimension that it gives to the background. I think it's looking good. We're going to wipe off my brayer and we're going to work on some of the other elements for the piece. So I'm going to put that aside. And now this is the composition book that those collage papers come out of. And I had used this one up already. Well, I thought this is so special to me. I thought maybe I would use these dragonfly dies and I would cut them out with the composition book. It's some neat old vintage paper, and here's some like fern leaves also, and I thought, well, that might look really neat on the background. Here's a little quote that I printed out from Pinterest, I believe it was, and there were two of them, and one I liked the writing of the word sister, and the other one I really liked the quote. So here are all my pieces that I cut out, and of course I can't use all of these, that's an awful lot. And then here's the string from the composition book, and I thought, well, maybe I can incorporate that also into the background. Now this is a stencil from Shawn, and I'll link it below. This one I had never used before, and it is really, really great. I love the writing, and the name of it, I can give you that right here. The name of this one is called Background Words. And like I said, I had never used it before, but I am certainly going to be using it again and again. So I just cut out my quote, and it's just right on regular printer paper. And I just wanted to kind of cut it out to see where things were going to lay out, so that I didn't have too much of that texture from the stencil in the areas where I wanted to put down the sentiment and the word sister. I'm going to use modeling paste through the stencil, and it's going to create a really, really cool texture. And I'm just using the text on the right-hand side of the stencil, trying not to go too precise, leaving it very organic, but yet my vision was that it was going to be white on the piece, and at the end I'm going to use my white pastel pencil and make it real bright white. And you'll see in the end that it worked out, and it was really nice. So I had that vision, and it was nice that it was created how I thought it would be. So being careful there not to overlap the stencil, and then I thought I needed to have it a bit on the other side to make the piece balanced. And I'm just using a plastic spatula there, and I'm just being very careful not to overlap the stencil as I'm putting it down in different areas of the piece. I really like how that worked, and we're going to give it a dry, and I'm just kind of placing the cutout elements on the side just to see how it was looking. And as I let that modeling paste dry, I am going to adhere these cut out pieces, and I use my matte gel to do that. So I'm gonna let everything dry, and I'll be right back with everything adhered to the piece. So here it is, all dry. How do you like it? It's looking good, isn't it? So I'm gonna use my scissors, turn the piece over, and I'm just going to cut off those edges. I don't know why, but this portion seems so rewarding. Feels like it's coming together, and you can kind of see the piece coming together. Like I said, I'm liking how it's turning out, and I'm hoping that she's going to like it too. So look at that great texture from that stencil. Here's some of the thicker gesso that I have in my stash, and I just wanted to cover up those ferns and the dragonflies because the brown was a little too brown for me. I needed to make it all blend together because we're going to put quite a bit of paint and a wash over the entire piece, so that it's all going to be real nice and very summery colors, summery looking. And you can see I'm covering up that dragonfly there in the middle, which I really didn't want to do too much. So I did take a damp cloth and wipe a little bit of that back, or baby wipe I guess I used, because I did want it to shine through. Just keep working it until you have it the way you like it. Like I said, it was a real fun piece, and I've had it here in my craft room for over a week now, and haven't given it to her yet. We'll give it to her on Friday, so I'll make sure that I let you know what she thought of it. Here's another one of Shawn's stencils, and I'm giving the piece a dry so that I don't pull up any of those papers. And this stencil is called Numbers Jumbo, and I use it a lot. I really like that subtle bit of numbers in the background kind of popping out. And I could have put this down before I put that gesso down, but I did want it to be a little bit more bold. I wasn't sure if I was going to use brown or black for the numbers, and I did start out with the brown, and it worked out just fine. So it wasn't too bold. It was a real nice addition to the piece. Now I know there's special meaning to different numbers. I'm not sure what those are, but I was just going with what was calling to me. The 5, the 2, the 4, it doesn't have any real meaning to me right now, but if you looked it up, maybe it had something to do with family. I know there's 6 kids in our family, so I'm not sure if that's why I picked the 6. Maybe my subconscious was talking to me or something. I'm not sure, but I just put it down where I was feeling it and how I liked it, and you can really see it in the pictures at the end. So I was just really enjoying the process. And I am using archival ink in potting soil and my makeup brush that I use for stenciling. I was trying to decide how much more I should put here in the background, and I'm thinking that I like it the way it is right now, and kind of visualizing where I'm going to put my sentiment. Sometimes you just don't know when to stop. I was thinking maybe I'd put these sunflowers on the side, but then I thought, oh, it's just gonna get too busy. They'll have to wait for another piece. Maybe I'll work on the sunflowers next. But here's how it is. I've got my burnt umber in acrylic paint, and I have a little glass jar that I mix it with water and create a wash for the background. I'm drying off my brush, and I'm going to first put down some of this green paint. This is one of my favorite colors, and it is a golden fluid acrylic, and the name of the paint is called Green Gold. And I thought I should put some color in the background here and there before I did that wash, so that it would be a little bit muted. And no rhyme or reason for this either. It was just where my brain was telling me to do it. So I have the dry brush and the paint, and I'm just going around in different areas there. And I really, really like this color. Giving it a dry before I put down that burnt umber wash of acrylic paint and water, and everything seems to be working out just great here. I really like this next portion. When you put down the wash, it just shows all of that wonderful, wonderful texture that we put in the background. So really fun to do this, and I do it with a lot of my mixed media pieces. And I didn't point it out, but I'm hoping you can see it here, that I did put that string from the composition notebook coming off of the dragonfly's tail, so it looks kind of like a little trail from the dragonfly. It's kind of cool. It's right there in the middle. Here I'm just putting down a towel because I'm going to spray lots and lots of water, and I didn't want to have a real wet surface. So I'm just letting it run and drip, adding more brown paint, and you just keep going back and forth until you have it the way you like it. Dabbing up the bottom using a paper towel or a baby wipe, whatever you have. I like the streaks of the paint running, and it looks just great to me. So I'm letting it run, to the left and to the right, and yeah, then you gotta make sure you give it a good dry. So here I'm gonna work on the sentiment, and I'm just cutting the sentiment to be a little bit more square, and then I'm cutting the different sections apart, making them as straight as I can with my scissors, and cutting out any excess so we don't have a lot of that paper, keeping it nice and clean here. So I did decide to cut that portion of the sentiment off that said with. So it says, "You are my angel," and then I cut off the with, "a love that always grows. You are one of my greatest gifts my heart will ever know." And that is to my sister Cindy. I wanted to put a little bit of that brown wash on the papers so that they weren't so stark white. And I just decided to throw away that with. I didn't think that it needed it. There, I think that looks real good. And of course we'll have to let that dry. Here's the piece, and it's all dry now. It's It's looking pretty neat, I think. I'm glad that I put that green gold in the background. Now here's the sister font, and I'm going to use carbon paper, and I'm going to put it underneath that word sister, and I'm going to use a drawing tool that has a little ball on the end, and I'm going to go ahead and trace that so I have the impression on the piece and I won't need to use the piece of paper. And this tool is something you'd use for dry embossing, and I use it for this type of tracing. So I have the sentiment, and then I will definitely go over it with my, I think I use my black Posca paint pen because that's permanent. And here I'm just holding it flat with my hand there so that I have a nice good impression. And you can see it barely, but I can see it, so that's pretty much all that matters, so that I can get the sentiment there underneath and place it. I'm going to put it down with my matte medium. Getting low on my matte medium, I see, and I'm just using a soft brush and going ahead and adhering that down. I put matte medium underneath, and then I go over the top and smooth it nicely over the top so that everything is adhered real well. Nothing will come off. I think the background is looking really great, and with the details and the paint that we're going to do in the next couple bits, it really comes together. It's been difficult with this coronavirus lately. You can't really go and see your family and friends. I don't know how people are handling it, not visiting their parents that are in the nursing homes or assisted living. I bet your hearts are just breaking, and I just hope that we find a way that we can get through this. It's been so long now, it's almost starting to feel like it's normal. So now I'm going to work on that portion of the sister, and I'm going to use my Posca paint pen. Like I said, I'm going to do it off camera because I wasn't sure if it was going to work, and I just wanted it to be very, very detailed, so I didn't want to rush by doing it on camera. I just wanted to make sure everything was dry here so I didn't get those sentiments stuck to my hand while I was working. So here you can see how nice it turned out. Now this paint that I'm using here is a high flow, I believe that's what it's called, acrylic in the color teal. Yeah, high flow acrylic, and it's by Golden, and isn't it absolutely gorgeous? Now this took a little bit of back and forth for me because I didn't want to cover up too much of that word sister. I wanted that to be the focal point and the sentiment, of course, but I did want that color to run. And while I was working on it, I thought, oh, the brown and the teal and that green gold underneath was just amazing, and it was just screaming, you know, summer colors for me. And then I was thinking, ooh, how about a little bit of purple? And yeah, I tried it, and it turned out really, really great. And the purple that I'm going to use is an acrylic ink by Liquitex, and it's deep violet. And Oh my, how did that make the piece pop? It was really, really quite fun. So I just have a damp towel here, and I'm just going back and forth to make sure that I have the paint where I would like it on the piece. And I'm using just plain water there in my spray bottle to have it run and drip down the piece. I really liked how that was working with that teal color. So I'm gonna let that dry, and then I got real brave and used this purple. I thought, oh gosh, please don't let me wreck it now. I wasn't quite sure, and there I put a little drop of paint on it. So I'm wiping it up. It's not going to matter because, as you see, I ended up going with the purple, and I really liked it. I mean, it made the neatest colors, and it's exactly what the piece needed. Look at that, how it just runs. And I'm just using water there, and I've got that towel, and I'm just dabbing it up. I just didn't want it to look like the sister was, I don't know, crying or something. We don't want her to cry, so I just kept wiping that area clean so that it was nice and the focal point. Look at this purple though, huh? How it mixes with that teal, and it makes just like a really deep violet, and it's just yummy. It's just absolutely great. And I was so hoping I wasn't going to wreck it. Giving it a dry. And sometimes you just have to know when to let it alone. It's hard to tell though, but once you get to that point and you're like, yeah, this is great. So rewarding. I knew I was gonna need to put a little bit more purple down though. Look at that great definition. You can see the texture. I was trying to decide if I needed more or what I was going to do. So I'm using a black Stabilo pencil, and I'm just covering the sentiment there because I used charcoal to go around the word strips there and blend it with my finger, and I didn't want to smudge it with my hand, but I wanted to go over the die cuts of those dragonflies in black and make them stand out. And I did spray a little bit of water on them after I covered all of it with the black Stabilo pencil, and then I let the black paint run a little bit so that it really softened those dragonflies, and then the black drips were coming down. It turns out to be an amazing piece. I can't wait to give it to her on Friday. So there you can see I was spraying it with water, and then let that black kind of run, using a paintbrush to dab off some of the excess. And going inside of the die cut areas just so that the color shows through from the background. And once you have it the way you want it, make sure you just give it a dry. Now here I'm going to flip the piece around so I can work on that big dragonfly that's up in the corner. And it has quite a bit of open area in that big die cut. And I'm just filling it with some black ink here so that it fills in those inside areas of the die cut, and it really, really makes that dragonfly stand out. This was just something that I was thinking would just add a little bit of different depth and dimension, and boy did it ever. Be sure to check out the still shots at the end of the video. I'd love to hear you comment on what you think of the piece, and in the weeks ahead I'll definitely let you know what my sister said about the piece. I hope she likes it. I don't think she'd tell me she didn't like it. So this was definitely something that I would keep in my craft room if I had, but it's going to her, so I just have the black ink here in a little squeeze bottle, and I'm not squeezing very hard at all. I didn't want to create a mess. Just filling that all in, putting the cover back on there, and being careful not to touch it so I don't smear that ink. I'm really liking how it's working now, and I had to decide what to do with those ferns. So what I decided is that I was going to use my brown Stabilo pencil and just go in between the leaves, or fern fronds, is that what they are? And then I will give it just a little spray of water and use my brush to move around that brown so that it would add another layer of texture behind it. And then I'm going to use my brand new wonderful soft pastels, and I'm going to put some different colors of green on those fern fronds. I believe that's what they are. So you can see how that brown Stabilo pencil moves with that water. And then I just give it a quick dry so I can put that other layer of the soft pastel on top, and it really gives it the dimension that I was looking for. Making sure it's dry. And here's my pan pastel that I've had in the past, and you will see how I use that as the base because I love that green color. And as I was putting it down, I was noticing, hey, that green in that pan pastel is really pulling the green out from the background. Oh yeah, here. And it's just like, wow, that was a really great match that I didn't even know I was doing. And here I'm using my new soft pastels, and oh, I'm absolutely loving this. There is a video that you can watch, and I'll try to link it for you. And it's just a video on things that I purchased a few weeks back, and I just thought that maybe people would like to see the new items that I put in my stash. You know, it's kind of fun. And I'll keep doing that, and I do that on my Facebook page too. So be sure to stay tuned and check out all my social media. You might like some of those videos. So I'm darkening in that brown a little bit. I wanted it to really pop back there. And then just touching it with that green and back and forth to how you like it. And then I did that to all of the fern. I did all of them in the background. So there it is. All of the green is finished. I need to do that black edge, of course, with my black marabou crayon. And I love to do that and go ahead and blend it with my finger, and that just frames the piece so unbelievably. It just makes it pop. I just love this technique, and it's something that Shawn does all the time in her art, and that's where I got it from, and I just have to do it. I even do it now on my art journal backgrounds and everything. It just finishes it. And I like to pull a little bit of that black in from the sides, and that's something I've been doing on quite a few pieces also. And remember, it's water soluble, so if you mess it up like I did here, I didn't like that little bit there at all. I just used my damp towel and I wiped it up, and I took it off, and I just continued on. You can always fix things. So I'm really liking how it turned out. Thank you for sharing this time with me. I know it was a little bit longer, but there was a lot of different techniques here. I'm hoping you like it. I really do, and I can't wait to give it to her. We'll see you again next week, and I'll let you know how she likes it. Thanks for staying with me.